Yeah, wealth habits is really important. So, one of the things that I think we don't necessarily focus on enough is like the little tiny things that we can do to start creating habits.
Can can you be successful with investing? Have you ever asked yourself that question? And we're here to dig into wealth habits so you can enjoy freedom by investing. And to shed light on the topic, I got with me Marcy because she came up with some amazing questions that, hey, okay, we should bring clarity to these questions. So help me welcome Marcy here to Financial Success Secrets. Hi,
Awesome.
Marcy.
Great to be back.
Thanks for coming on. I appreciate it. And I love the
Always.
questions that you suggested. So let's bring forth yeah, and help people so they can enjoy freedom and getting into wealth habits.
Yeah, wealth habits is really important. So, one of the things that I think we don't necessarily focus on enough is like the little tiny things that we can do to start creating habits, building the habits and expanding them to be able to grow our wealth and to ultimately be able to reach our freedom and wealth goals. So, I had a couple of questions that came up that I thought you might be able to share with us that could maybe even help me and everyone else here listening. So, the first question that I had for you are what would you say the top three success habits are in regards to investing?
In regards to investing, amazing. Yeah. First and foremost, I would start with knowing why you're doing this. So connecting with your why. And the reason why that's so important is because investing is a long-term thing. There's no such thing as a magic bullet, magic pill, but it lies in term like with habits of doing something consistently over a longer period of time. So it's about allowing ourselves to have a long-term focus so that when we're doing this and we're going to follow up with your investments, for example, on a weekly basis, that yeah, we know why we're doing this, we're connecting to that why, and also to help us not trying to take any shortcuts in when we're doing investing, because it really comes down to a long-term game. And that means also, in order to get started with investing and having money to invest, saving for the purpose of investing is really key. And that brings us into actually money management, so that we have a system to manage our money, because the better we are at managing money, the more money we will be given to manage. And something I learned from T. Harv Eker is what he called the jar system. So you can, for example, create 6 accounts. You can look at them as bank accounts that all of your income, you split that across these accounts. And one of these jars is you can call it the wealth jar, the financial freedom jar, investing jar, whatever you want to call it. I encourage you to create a name, yeah, that really gets you excited. And then you can put in, for example, 10% of all your income into that account, into that jar. Because that means, okay, you actually also set aside money that you can afford to let work for you for a long time, that you don't need again tomorrow, next week, next month, but that there is actually money you can set aside for a long time. Quickly, the other jars are necessities. So you have money for your mortgage, utilities, like fuel, insurance, etc. And there is also a jar for fun. So you set aside some money to enjoy life, get experiences, because I bet also that you're not just investing because you want the money, but we're really aiming for some feeling, right? That it's what are that money going to do for us? So that the fun jar, setting aside some money to enjoy life as well along the journey, can help us get a taste so that we really want to get more of this. So that's the necessities. We have the fun. You could choose to have an account for saving for a purpose of actually spending, so that maybe you have a goal, you want a new car, maybe it's a new home, renovating, something that you're saving for that you want to have. So I know some, and I've done it myself, I combine it with investing. So I increase the amount that I invest. Another really important jar is education, so that you invest in yourself. That's the most important investment you can make, actually,
I think that's my favorite jar.
because it's about getting a skill set that can change your life. And you said this is your favorite jar. Why is it your favorite jar?
I think it's probably because learning is one of my highest values.
Yeah.
And when we take the time to actually invest in ourselves, that pays dividends across all areas of our life when it comes to our health, our wealth, our relationships, everything. So investing in yourself to me is like it multiplies your monetary wealth as well as the riches in all other parts of your life. So
Yeah, well said. And enriches all aspects of life. And to add upon that, the last account is setting aside, for example, 5%, then the rest to give. And it's a beautiful experience. I had the pleasure myself, like buying food to families less fortunate than myself, and seeing the impact it can have when you can make a difference in other people's life, not because you need a promotion or to feel important, but to really see that, yeah, you can have an impact and give back in ways. Okay, we talked about connecting with your reasons why, because it's a long-term perspective. We don't want to do any shortcuts, but how is this going to serve you and the people you care about long term? It's saving to investing, it's money management. And to help you on that journey, it would also be living below your means to add upon this saving to invest, because it's this transitions us into the last point, where that it's not about bringing in more money into your life, but it's really about bringing in assets. And assets are things that grow in value, that appreciates in value by themselves. So for example, if we buy a car, it's a liability. It only costs us money. You have service, you have fuel, your insurance. It just drains money out of our pockets. Now, if you choose to, rent out the car, so you earn an income when people rent your car, it could be an asset. So what we're aiming for is bringing in assets into our life, because assets generate money for us, generate profits, and that is what's going to set you free when your money is working for you. So you really can enjoy freedom by investing, because you invest into assets. So it's like shifting that focus from how do I get more money to how can I bring in assets. And that is when we have assets and you have this habit of saving for investing, and you can add more money as well, you really get the amazing effect of what's known as compounding, that your money is going to grow exponentially. If you never heard about it, it's kind of like a snowball rolling down a hill. And as the snowball rolls down, it will collect snow. As it grows in size, it can collect even more snow at an even faster pace, and just grow bigger at a faster pace. So that are top 3 habits that will set you up for success with investing.
wow, that was awesome. That was fantastic. I think that you had like a really well-rounded set of habits there, and that those things alone will really make a huge impact in someone's life. And I love how you were talking about assets. It reminds me of, and I'm not sure where I heard this, but that people who are not wealthy spend their time making money, and that people who are wealthy spend their money creating more time. And it's a different mindset shift in there to say, okay, well, what can I spend my money on and invest in that's an asset that will make me money, instead of me having to work to make the money, and then it grows automatically. And especially when you have something where it has the factor of time, where it buys you back your own personal time. So really, really fabulous there. Thanks so much for that information. I think my next question, this one can tie into, so here's what people can do. And then which of the wealth habits do you think people seem to struggle with the most?
Yeah. One thing is many spend more than like they live above their means instead of living below their means, but we cover that. So then one thing is about diversification, so that we spread our money into several assets, so that you don't put all the eggs into the same basket, would be another framing to that. And because the thing that to build upon this, a second aspect then is thinking that this time is different. So let's say you made an investment, it went well, and this time it's gonna perform the same. The conditions might have changed, or that maybe you made an investment and it didn't go well, and you think, yeah, this time is gonna be different, or like, okay, the investment kind of failed me in the past. I'm going to take revenge and I'm going to invest again because this time is different. But we really have to understand what we invest in. So to tie that all together, it's all about really having a strategy, knowing what you should do and when you should do it. So for example, knowing exactly what you invest in, why you invest in that, how much money, and yeah, when you invest, and how much you actually buy, like based on the amount of money you want to invest. So yeah, that we basically we don't let any emotions come into the game here. That is what we really are dealing with when you can give yourself a really clear formula, step-by-step approach, so that yeah, we don't put all our eggs into the same basket because we're really excited about that one thing, but we want to, as you said, like how can we shifting our mindset here into, yeah, how can we bring in assets, and it's plural form, it's many of them, it's not just one asset, many of them. And then yeah, really looking at understanding what you invest in, so that you also don't want to, for example, do any revenge trading or think that this time is gonna perform the same way, or that if it didn't perform that well, that yeah, it's gonna be different. And then yeah, really having very clear guidelines for yourself, so that many people they just for example buy without agreeing for themselves what are the conditions going to be before you buy. So for example, before you buy, you know exactly when are you going to sell this, how are you going to take profits. And an example is, okay, cryptos are really big these days. And
Yeah.
when you're talking about, can Bitcoin, for example, go up to the value of 100,000? And I bet that when Bitcoin starts to go even more up in price now, because it has fallen over the last 2 months. And when it goes back up, many people, I bet it's going to be exciting. And many have this concept of hold on for that life. And I bet, okay, if it goes to, if you think now, yes, it's going to go to 100,000, I bet when it comes to 100,000, many will say it's going to go to 200,000, and even more people are going to buy in. And at the same time, history shows us that these prices, they go up and down. It cycles. That is why what the wealthy people has realized as well. It cycles. So in times when price goes down, they buy the rundown stocks. They buy like the broken cryptos or the solid projects. They understand what they invest in, but they buy like at a discount, so that when times turn, because it cycles, they get to have huge profits on that. So that yeah, if you believe Bitcoin is going to go to 100,000, it comes there, and you believe it's going to go to 200,000, and it could. And I also bet that on the way is going to be swings, like it's going to go up, going to go down, and then will you panic if it starts going down? And that is what we are dealing with here, trying to remove these emotions from the game. And that's possible by having a strategy and agreeing for yourself what are the guidelines you're following before you actually invest in your asset.
Yeah, awesome. I think my big takeaway from that was really like, you need to focus on the strategy and not let the emotions get involved, because then when you go through that, inevitably history shows us when you go through that cycle of the up and the down, that if you're basing your investing solely on emotions, then when it goes down, you're maybe going to be getting a little bit emotional about that and making decisions from there, versus if you're going into it ahead of time, you have a strategy, you have a plan, you know exactly what you're doing. So then when it goes down, you're like, okay, well, I already know what I'm doing. It's not, this big emotional, oh no. So the strategy above all else, and will help prevent, I guess, that sort of emotional roller coaster as well. So really great. Now, I guess one other thing on the mindset that it takes, and around emotions, what are some of the biggest mistakes that people make when it comes to the mindset of investing and creating habits? We talked a little bit about that earlier with the, more of a really a get rich slowly approach and a mindset. But is there something else that's another like key mistake that people make when it comes to how they approach something and thinking?
Yeah, it really comes back to the emotions. And one here is when prices usually drop, many become fearful. I recently talked to someone that when prices drop and they mentioned like, okay, I buy, and then it's a pattern that price drops afterwards, and I see the value of my investment dropping 70%, and I ask, did I make the right decision? Can it continue like this? And you have all that fear, anxiety. And it comes because there is a lack of strategy, that they don't have any step-by-step approach for themselves, that they're not clear on what kind of rules, what guidelines are they following. And also on the flip side, if you're not yet have bought, many people get really excited when prices go up. And just think about it. And for example, 10 years ago with Bitcoin, now it was brand new, not many people heard about it. So it's natural that not so many people are buying it, etc. But what also happens now, just before Christmas last year, recently now, a couple of months ago, the price was going up, up and up, and more people start talking about it. And also more people start buying in. And this is what's known as the fear of missing out. You see that kind of the train has start picking up speed, and you're like, why am I not on the train? And you jump on the train while it's having high speed. And now history repeats itself. Prices has gone down. And I bet that all those people who bought when the price was close to getting to the peak or at the peak, they question themselves, was this the right decision, etc. And that all comes back to, having clear guidelines for yourself and agreeing upon and getting yourself a proven formula first and foremost. There's no need to reinvent the wheel, but model success like the people who are on the Forbes list, because I believe success leaves clues. So if you look at the Forbes list, they don't have jobs, they have assets. You talked about this as well, like how can they use their money to buy themselves more time? And it comes by bringing in assets. And they have understood that when prices drop, that is a fantastic opportunity to buy into something that is a solid company, solid stock, or solid crypto. It's just that it's currently at a discount, and they have very clear guidelines for how to do that, so that they don't let that fear take them out of the game, or that FOMO that they get in at the wrong time. But having a proven formula, knowing what to do, when to do it, that's gonna help us with that mistake that most people make. Because investing is a lot simpler than most people think once you get the right strategy. And unfortunately, it's like 90% of people lose 90% of their money within 90 days of starting with investing. But the question is, where does all that money go? It goes to the 10%, to the rest. They use a proven formula. And that means when you decide to use a proven formula, there's going to be a lot of money coming your way. So it's a lot simpler than most people think.
Yeah, that's a great point. If you're gonna play a game, you're in it to win it. You better have a strategy, because if you're going in blind, then that's not how you win.
Yeah.
I agree. Success leaves clues. When we model successful people, we reverse engineer what it is they do. We look at their strategies. We look at how they're executing those, and we don't have to reinvent the wheel. History. I guess the good news is that history does repeat itself, so we can go and look at the past and see, okay, what was working before? What's worked in the past? What can we learn from that we can therefore apply to the future? And yes, sure, the future is new and uncertain, and there's lots of different changes happening, but ultimately there's a consistent cycle that always happens.
Mm.
So yeah, that's a great way to be able to look back, have a strategy, no revenge trading, keep it based on the strategy.
Yeah.
And yeah, that'll absolutely get you moving forward.
So I like what you said with let's look at the history and learn from that and see what was working, because like past indications is no guarantee for future returns, as you said as well, like that. We don't get into any revenge trading or this time it's gonna work, but utilizing these principles and habits we've been talking about.
I don't know why this is coming to mind, but in talking about using things that worked in the past and it doesn't guarantee future, the quote from the Pirates of the Caribbean movie had popped in my head of like, the code and how we stick to the code, but using it more like guidelines. I was just imagining that moment there with the Captain Barbosa, and he's talking about, the code, it's more like guidelines, but we can look back and have them be more like guidelines for how we can take that and move into the future.
A fantastic reference on reframing how we can set ourselves up for success in investing. Fantastic. And is there anything else we should add? Let's just do a quick recap of what we covered, and if there's anything else to add, let's do that. And you started with the first question.
The first question was the top 3 success habits in regard to investing.
We talked connect with your why, having a long-term focus. We talked about money management, save to invest, live below your means, and focus need to shift from how do I bring in more money to how do I actually bringing in assets into my life. Awesome.
And then from there, I brought you more into the wealth habits that people seem to struggle with the most.
Yeah. And it's okay, getting really excited about one thing. So instead of having a diversified portfolio, so do not put all eggs into the same baskets, but spread them out. And getting into a mode where thinking this time is different, wanting to do, for example, revenge trading, and lacking a lack of strategy, because a proven formula, clear guidelines, is going to set you up for success. And that brought us into your last question. What are some mistakes, the biggest mistakes we make? And that is letting emotions rule their behavior, because there's a lack of a strategy. And then people become fearful when prices drop. And many people, they become really excited when price goes up. And then, history repeats itself. And that it takes a lot of people out of the game. But investing is a lot simpler than most people think once you have a proven formula. So, let us know if you would like to learn how you can have freedom by investing. And Varsi, 2 words about yourself as well. Thank you for coming on, and 2 words about yourself, like what you're doing, so people can get to know you as well.
Oh, I'm really excited. I am helping entrepreneurs and coaches, creators really dig into their mindset these days. And I think that that's been such a big thing, because when we start with mindset, it really helps us to reprogram our minds, to program limiting beliefs and prime us for peak success. So that's where I'm at these days. And wanted to just leave off with a quote actually that I had thought of, and I forgot to include this earlier, but it's a great quote, so we can throw this in now. But that people do not decide their futures, they decide their habits, and their habits decide their futures. That was from FM Alexander. It really got me thinking how, wow, when we really look at our habits and how that impacts our future, we're able to change the trajectory. One of the reasons why I am so passionate about mindset, because when we look at our limiting beliefs, when we look at what programming is going on underneath the surface, that's what is causing us to take the same actions, the same repeated habits. And so when we can make changes and we can shift those, suddenly we're able to create new habits, and then we can change our future from there.
I love that quote. That is so powerful. And that just reminds me of what Tony Robbins is saying as well, that it's in moments of decision that our destiny is shaped.
Yes.
And yeah, as you said, like we don't choose our future, we choose our habits, and that will determine the future. Fantastic. We can have an entire conversation on that. So let's do that another time.
All right. Sounds like a
Thanks.
plan.
Thanks for coming on. And
Awesome.
yeah, awesome. So yeah, comment below what your biggest key takeaway was. We would love to hear from you so we can see how we can guide you on your journey to achieve your outcomes. And Marcia, since you're on the Financial Success Secret show here, you gotta join me for our catching move that we do.
We have a new move. All right.
You
have to teach me.
Yes. So we just bring up our arm, and we're gonna bring it down. And as we do that, we say catching.
Catching.
Yeah, exactly. So let's do it together. 1,
all right,
2, 3. Catching. Fantastic.
Awesome.
Please be aware, we are no financial advisors. We do not provide any advice. We only share our experience, and our results are not typical. If we mention any stocks, funds and other type of investments, it is for educational and illustrational purposes only. Most people are unable to achieve similar results to ours. If you want to achieve similar results, you have to commit yourself to systemize, to learn and to stick to the rules.